Hey, Dio Oropesa with Florida You Judge, and we will be on shortly with candidate Eliseo Santana Jr. He is the Democratic candidate that will be on tomorrow's ballot in Pinellas County. He is running against the incumbent Sheriff Bob Gulteri. He has an opponent. He will appear on tomorrow's ballot in the primary, and whoever wins tomorrow will go on to run in the general election against Pinellas County Sheriff incumbent Bob Gulteri. It's 5:30 now, and I am being joined not only by Eliseo Santana, who's gonna address the voters on his candidacy, and he's going to be taking questions. So I asked him, would you like to take some questions from the public and voters? And he said, absolutely, absolutely. So the call-in number is 813-221-9700. That, again, is 813-221-9700. I am incredibly excited and happy to be joined by community activist Michelle Williams, who is constantly keeping her community informed with important issues, such as the ones that we're facing right now in the aftermath of George Floyd and what we all witnessed as a country and in our different communities, and issues that have arisen and have come out of that, which we're currently discussing and addressing. And Eliseo is going to be covering and addressing some of those issues. I also am so excited to have Linda Perez Davila. She is the head of Boricuas de Corazón. That's Puerto Ricans with Heart. I love that name. Linda, thanks for joining me. For those of you who are watching now, please share. This is, I don't know what happened to Michelle. She momentarily, her video went off, but I'm sure she'll come back shortly. For those of you who are watching, tomorrow's election day, very big day. Voting is an incredible right that we should not take for granted. And there you are again. I knew that you'd do that. You do that to me every now and again to keep
you could have told me
Michelle.
It was cricket. I feel like I was WAP I'm like, oh my God, let me fix my crown. I'm on with a candidate.
Oh yeah. So for those of you who are watching, please share. This isn't for my benefit. You know, I do like to hear myself talk sometimes. I'm a talker, but you know what? This isn't for my benefit. This is for the benefit of the community. I understand how important this is. My parents fled from Cuba at the beginning of in the 1960s, early 1960s, because all of a sudden government took over that, where not too long thereafter, civil rights were no more. Okay, it was the way of the government, and that was the only way. You don't have the ability to select who governs. And in this country, thank God, we still have that. We have that because people died. They gave everything. The Declaration of Independence says they staked their honor, their life, everything on this thing that we experience, that we enjoy, called freedom. And if you want to make freedom continue to count, you have to vote so that we preserve it. We have to preserve it. This is something that was not just given to us, that is going to be here forever. If we don't defend it and protect it, we can lose it one day. Even that you might think that's not, can never happen, but it can. So tomorrow's election day, if you didn't take I voted yesterday. I went and I voted on a Sunday. And tomorrow's the last day. That's it in the primary. It's very important. We have two Democratic candidates, Eliseo Santana Jr., who has very good ideas, and we're gonna let him address you, the voters. It's very important. Please share with your friends, your family, those of you who are going to be voting in Pinellas. Share so that you can become informed. Your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community can become informed and vet both candidates that will be appearing on the ballot tomorrow. Eliseo, thank you for joining me today, and I want to start off with you introducing yourself, telling the viewers about who you are, your background, and why you are the best candidate tomorrow in the primary to be selected to be able to go on into the general election with the current incumbent.
Thank you. I am so honored and very happy to be here, because democracy works when we, the citizens, are able to cast the vote, but not just cast the vote, but be educated as to what it is that the issues of those individuals that we entrust with our future to have. I am Eliseo Santana. I'm a veteran. I'm also a veteran of the U.S. Army and also of the Florida National Guard. I arrived in Florida in 1980, and quickly afterwards, I applied to work for the sheriff department, Pinellas County Sheriff Department, of which I retired 8 years ago with over 31 years of service. I was in I was in charge of applying technology and modernizing our agency, and I saw from within those systemic racist activities and actions that were there. Let me tell you, back in 1981, when I was hired as the first person of color to be a technician for the agency. And the chief deputy at the time, on day one, told me, "You're not a good fit. We didn't want you here." It hasn't changed any. And here we are. Let me tell you that as sheriff, I'm going to make sure that I earn the trust of our community. I'm going to institute body cameras because it's essential that we have that transparency and accountability. We need to earn that trust of the community that we've lost because of the current sheriff being there for but a decade in that position. I will eliminate chokeholds that will not occur. The use of force will be as a last resort. As I said before, body cameras will be instituted, and I'm going to train the deputies to be able to apply de-escalation tactics. That means that when there's an issue happening, instead of taking it to the next level up of using force, we're going to take it to the next level down to de-escalate the situation and only use force as a last resort. It is essential that we use our resources wisely, and arresting people that have mental issues and drug issues and are homeless is not the right way of using our resources. I'm going to reallocate and make sure that we have professionals that will be able to address these issues and be able to truly make our community safe. Community policing is a must. We're going to bring in leaders from the community to be able to interact with our sheriff department. They were going to be pivotal in being able to guide us to what it is that we need to do. And if there's an issue that occurs, we're going to bring them in so that they'll be able to see everything that we have available, and they'll be able to judge and make a decision as to what the actions were. But beyond that, I'm going to give them the authority and the power to make changes in the way we do things to make sure that it does not happen in the future. Eliseo Santana, I'm one of the community. I've been here since 1980. I have the experience. I know what it is to be within an agency that's systemically racist, and I know what we need to do to eliminate that. Vote for me, Santana, one of us.
What are your thoughts on? I know that I'm going by the League of Voters, which is League of Women Voters. It's a very good organization to keep the voters informed. And one of the questions that was posed to you in the voter guide was, what are your thoughts on a citizen review board to
Well,
oversee cases where there may have been an excessive use of force?
first, I want to say that I am so honored by the League of Women Voters. I became a member of the League of Women Voters, and I am blessed and fortunate that our membership in Pinellas County, North Pinellas County, elected me as their vice president. And I served for several years until I decided to run for political office, in which I resigned. That is an excellent question because it gets down to the building of the trust. Right now, the way that it stands is that the police, the agency themselves, police themselves. They do the investigation. Now, there was recently, because of the people being out in the streets and demonstrating, there's been a little bit of a give. And now they're talking about maybe another agency will look at the law enforcement agency if there's an issue. That's a good beginning, but we need to make sure that our citizens are involved in that and they have an active participation. I will institute that.
You know what? An article came out not too long ago about that, and I was quoted in that article because they asked me. I thought for sure it shouldn't just be composed of law enforcement members, even if they're not the actual agency but neighboring agencies. I believe that citizens should play a part in also reviewing that. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, and also criminal defense attorneys. What do you think about that?
The whole community needs to be involved. Right now we have 32 individuals at the sheriff department, the ones that run the agency, the 3,000 member agency. we have 32 of them. These are the directors, the captains, the one that direct this day by day. And out of the 32, there's only one that identifies themselves as a person of color out of 32. And these are people appointed by the sheriff. I will guarantee you, I would tell you right now that Sheriff Santana is going to have a committee that represents, that looks like all of us in the community.
Yep. Yep. And I know that that's something that interests Michelle Williams. Michelle, do you have any questions for Eliseo? And before you ask, for those of you that are watching, please share. Even if you're, for those of you that you know, your friends, family that are going to be voting here in the county of Pinellas, so that they become informed, so that they know what his platform is, and compare it to the other candidate that's going to be appearing on the ballot tomorrow in the primary. Before I get to Michelle, again, it's Santana for sheriff is your website.
Yes, it's important to put www.santanaforsheriff.com, and you'll be able to get to my more information and to volunteer.
Okay, very well. What can they do? Volunteers do tomorrow.
Tomorrow is we need people to be out there and connect with all the other agencies that are there, and to be able to observe to see if there's any issues with voter type of restrictions or any kind of a issue dealing with that. And it's not, as a candidate, I'm not going to be able to participate in that process, but I definitely encourage that if there's any individual that goes out to vote and they have an issue or problem, that they do not just stay quiet and go away, but they raise the ruckus and let somebody know.
Yeah, because the system in all aspects, the criminal justice system, everything, voting should be governed by the rules. Everyone one should hear or adhere to that, to the rules. And I've been hearing a lot of persons, and I know Linda was commenting on that with the Spanish broadcast that we just finished, and with me earlier with the 150-foot rule. A lot of people have been not adhering to that. So the process should be governed with fairness. Thank you for mentioning that. Again, the website for you to learn more about this candidate who's a Democrat. He's running in tomorrow's Democratic primary to then hopefully he would love to be able to go into the general election. Santana for sheriff, it's on the screen. And we're also he's agreed to take Collins, so that the public, you all who are now watching live, can call him and ask him whatever questions you want. The call-in number is 813-221-9700. Again, my name is Heidi Oropesa with Florida You Judge. I'm happy to be have as a co-host my good friend Michelle Williams and Linda Davila, who will give her a couple of minutes at the end to address on issues or matters that she wants to transmit to the viewers. Eliseo, Michelle, go ahead and ask whatever questions you want of this candidate.
Okay, thank you so much, Haiti, again for having me on for today's episode. My question to you, sir, is that you see the systemic racism that we're in the United States, and a lot of people, just as you know, the resistance with having the first Black president of the United States. And I think that you, if I'm not mistaken, I think you'll be making history by becoming the first Hispanic sheriff in that town. So what type of resistance are you feeling? You know, like I know personally, I know what you're experiencing. But you know, I have a platform that's gonna watch this after me and after I share it, because like I say, the followers that I have in St. Pete, Clearwater, and Largo, they, you know what I'm saying, they tend to lean the way Michelle Williams says, get out and vote. And I want my fans and my followers and my supporters to be able to hear from you what you're experiencing, because we all know, you know, I'm not a resident of Pinellas County, but I see the racism that has happened. The case that sticks in my mind is the case where the police officers of Pinellas, where they bumped the car with the little girls that was in the cemetery. You know, that case just will not go away from my mind. That case will not go away from my heart, because there was no transparency. There was no accountability. You know, it's just like, you know, the public is still wanting to know. And you, if you are successfully elected as the next sheriff for Pinellas County, you know, something you already said, you hit the head of the nail when you said that you will bring in the community. You will bring in activists such as myself, you know what I'm saying, along with great other people, to be able to say, you know what I'm saying, Sheriff Santana, this is the issues that we're having in the community. You know, we can't bend the ear of Sheriff Gutierrez because he thinks that he's higher than God right now. You know, and when you don't have favor to listen to the cries of the community or your constituents, that's the problem. So my posed question to you, what is the systemic racism that you have faced as running for the first historic candidate to run for sheriff in Pinellas County?
Let me tell you that not only is it historic because of being Hispanic, but I am the first person of color not to run, because there was another gentleman, an African American, that ran in the previous election. But upon winning, I am going to be the first person of color to be in that position. And let me tell you, the systemic racism is so broad, so huge. For me to be able to encapsulate it into a, let me rephrase that or put it a different way. The way that the Constitution of Florida works is that the sheriff is a constitutional officer. That means that every single deputy, everyone that works for the sheriff they act like I would act. They're acting on my benefit and my behalf. They work because I want them to be there, because I have trust in what they do. And let me tell you that as sheriff, if a deputy does not behave and act the way that I would if I was doing it, they would need to get another job, because I will not tolerate that type of hunting down and looking for a crime where there is no crime that is obvious. I am not going to tolerate that looking for, because of the way we look, we get stopped. That will end. That will end immediately. Not only that, but we're going to treat everybody with respect. And I want to make sure that the community brings in and tells us what we need to do that they think we need to make our neighborhood safe. And that incident you said about the girls,
yes,
that is exactly why we need a new sheriff, because the sheriff himself didn't see that as a problem. That is unacceptable.
Okay, well, here's what I do want to say. I don't know about, that's your platform. Those are the issues I brought you on to talk about. You have good ideas with the body cams. I like that. I like the reallocation of funds for mental health and whatnot. I like the idea of a diverse citizen review board to look at excessive use of force. But I have to say, be fair and say that my personal experience with the sheriff, I've been a harsh critic at times of Sheriff Gutierrez, but I have to say that in my dealings with him, he's always been professional. I'm a Latin woman. Right now, we just learned over the weekend that he has tested positive for COVID-19. We want to offer prayers for him and his family. And I got to tell you that even when I have been, when I've harshly criticized him, he has always maintained professionalism when I've reached out in regards to the business of as a lawyer and that office, and he has timely responded and very professionally. So you're saying that there's systematic racism. I agree that in the system that there's something called implicit bias. I know that Michelle and I attended a juvenile justice reform where he was present along with Bernie McCabe, and there were some panelists that were calling for implicit bias. That can certainly happen where there's implicit bias. I have, so I believe that exists, but I don't believe that. I've not seen any evidence that Sheriff Gutierrez is racist, although I again have disagreed with like the Marquise McLaughlin. I didn't know. I thought that there should have been an immediate arrest on that. Ultimately, Bernie McCabe went ahead, and despite there not being an issue, listen, sometimes there's stand your ground. That's a law. There's sometimes difference in legal analysis opinions that can happen amongst reasonable people. But again, I think that some of the ideas that you bring, body cam, right now he's reviewing that. That's something that I agree with you from day one. How many injustices have not been captured because of a lack of body cam footage? Right. And so the fact that that's something that for a time Gutierrez has been resistant of, and I'm happy to hear now, probably because of the climate that we're in and the things that have happened. I read in the article that it's more feasible now. Before, there were issues with the storage of it and whatnot. In any of it, to me, it doesn't matter. A life where there's an injustice and there is an excessive force, especially when it results in death, I don't care what the cost is. We're gonna have to budget that and figure out a way to have body cam. So I'm with you on that.
Absolutely. And Heidi and Michelle, I just want to point out that it's not that I'm saying that an individual is racist. It has to do with the way you're brought up, your life experiences. If you're surrounded by people that look just like you and reinforce the way you're thinking, then it's normal. And when you have 31 out of 32 people that are running the sheriff's office that look and act just like you, that is a huge problem. We need to bring that diversity of thought, that life experiences that I have gone through and that we have gone through, to be able to give us that variety of thought. Not everything is a crime, but it is a crime not to think of everybody's best interest. And this is where the difference between the current sheriff, with his limited ability to see things based on his experience, and the people that are around him, and a sheriff like Eliseo Santana that brings my life experience and are going to bring other people in. We have a lot of deputies. The majority of deputies are good people and they want to be of service, but yet there are few that are not, and they're being protected. They're not going to be protected by Sheriff Santana. They're going to be weeded out. And body cameras allows people to act professionally, even though their minds may be thinking different things, but I want them to act professionally and with respect. And that is a guarantee that's something that we'll be able to have when we have that implemented. I will implement that very quickly if I'm being sure.
That's one of the things that I guess is your first order of business upon being elected, if you ultimately go into the general election and win again. Thank you for joining Florida You Judge, the Tampa Bay edition. If anyone wants to call that's listening, 813-221-9700, you get to call and ask directly your questions of this candidate. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch upon, Michelle?
No, I'm loving what he's saying, and to be honest with you, I like the sound of Sheriff Santana.
It has music to it, right?
We're gonna have to play Oye Como Va with the Carlos Santana, huh? Linda, is there anything that you want to do to address the voters? Tomorrow's election day. How important is it, Michelle? There's a little bit of a low turnout. I know in Hillsborough County, only 50%. There's like 800,000 voters out there. What do you have to say about that, Linda? Because that's where you're from. You're working out of Brandon, yes? Operating out of Brandon. So what do you say to energize the voters? Let's go out and vote, folks.
Correct. We have to make sure that all the Latinos count. Tomorrow we have a group of volunteers that, as I mentioned before, if you have any issues on voting tomorrow, you have any kind of issues with your ID, with your voting process, anything. Myself, I'm going to be serving as a volunteer with the Latino Justice, and we're going to be in every precinct. If there's going to be a volunteer with a sign look like that one that I said, if you need any help or you have any issue in the voting precinct that you are, contact us at 833-557-5869, and we are going to be helping you. We need to make sure that every vote count. Doesn't matter. We are non-partisan. We want to make sure that every vote count. 833-557-5869 if you have any issues on the voting as of tomorrow in the primary election.
And that number will be manned by Spanish-speaking individuals,
Correct.
Yes? Because
Correct.
we want to help the Spanish community that cannot speak English. We want them to vote too, right?
We have three languages. We have Spanish, English, and Creole. So anyone that have any difficulties on that, we are going to be serving that communities.
And I know Michelle Williams likes to hear that.
Yeah.
Because she's Haitian.
Yes.
So look, that for your community, that number in all the precincts in Hillsborough, 833, and not only Hillsborough, Linda, right? How many?
It's going to be in the whole Florida state.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. You can call 833-557-5869. Tell your neighbors, friends, family members, anyone that you know, this is the number that they can call tomorrow if they encounter any type of difficulty while they're trying to vote. And it's going to be manned by Spanish speakers, English speakers, and Creole. So that is awesome. Very awesome. Anything do you want to leave with the voters with, Santana, before we sign off? The next person that's coming up is April Griffin. She is running for Hillsborough tax collector. She's going to be on at 6, so we just have a quick minute to wrap this up. You want to have a last word with the voters? Eliseo.
Absolutely. It is essential. If you are tired, if you're sick and tired and you want to change and you do not want this type of force and mentality, militarization of our police to go forth, then you need to come out and vote tomorrow, and you need to vote for Santana. I will make that change. This is a unique election, and your vote counts, but you have to vote in order to count. Santana.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, Haiti Oropesa with Florida You Judge. If you want to hear from April Griffin, who's running for Hillsborough County tax collector, please just we'll be back on at 6 o'clock sharp. Michelle, do you want to join me or do you want to jump off? Do you want to join me on this interview with April Griffin? Come on, join me.
You know I support Kevin Beckner, so if she want to ass beat, I'll go ahead and join.
No, she's not running against Kevin Beckner.
What does she want?
That's Cindy Stewart. That was the wrong ass beating.
Well, I don't. Well,
She's running with her opponent is Nancy Milan.
I support Nancy.
Okay. So I'm gonna listen.
I'm sorry.
You don't gotta be sorry. We're free to support who we want.
Listen, sorry, not sorry, because this election cycle, I'm sorry. I feel that more Hispanic and Blacks need to be running for seats as political candidates. So this time we have historically again Nancy Millian running for tax collector in Hillsborough County. We need to get her in that seat.
And you're supporting Kevin Beckner for clerk of court?
And I'm supporting Kevin Beckner.
Do you want to go ahead and give your people your community who's following you, your recommendations real quick before we sign off?
Well,
And I start, so I'll go ahead and do solo with April.
Solo, baby. Solo.
Okay, you want to give your recommendation? Listen, you want to give your recommendations to your.
I'm supporting and I recommend that we vote for Sky White for County Commissioner, District 3 in Hillsborough County. I support Kevin Beckner as the clerk of the circuit court. I support Nancy Millian for the the tax collector's office here in Hillsborough County. I also support Nancy Jacobs for judge. I support John Vito. I'm putting this already in the atmosphere. We need to start throwing our support behind Mike Perotti for Hillsborough County state attorney against Andrew Warren, the incumbent. I support also my Pinellas County family. I'm throwing my hat and my name in the ring and my support behind Mr. Santana for sheriff of Pinellas County. We need that change. We need the transparency. And I'm telling you, that body cam that serves up accountability. That serves up accountability. Body cameras on. There's no question whether or not you did or did not do what you're saying or you are being accused of. The body camera footage don't lie. So I'm all for that right there. We have a lot of good candidates. This election cycle. I'm all for keeping Judge Stevens. I want to see him stay in that seat. I feel that, even though he's been ousted on some bad behavior or some behavior that was unwarranted by the public defender here and some other attorneys, I believe that, by us calling him out on his nonchalant attitude, he knows that we will not play the radio with him or having him unseated, down the road. So
yeah, he got some criticism for temperament. So it is what it is.
It is always good that you're challenged. It's always good that these seating judges and these seating candidates who have been there forever, that they are actually challenged. So I'm all for a good race. So Mr. Santana, win, lose, or draw tomorrow, honey, I'm wishing you well. I'm wishing you well that I would light a special prayer candle for you tonight in front of St. Jude and ask him to bless you, to shine the light upon the voters on you that light is, because Sheriff Guten Terry, I'm sorry, he got to go.
Yeah.
I don't make no apologies about that. He has to go. He got to get out of that seat. He has to
Well,
get out.
tell us how you really feel, Michelle.
Oh yeah.
Listen, I gotta go jump off. Thank you all again for joining me, and tell Nancy Milan that she got an invite to come on and she declined to come on Florida You Judge to address whatever voters she could have, be it a big audience or small. She could have come on and she declined to do that, to address not only followers of my Spanish page. And so there you go. There you go. Tell her I say hi too. Haiti Oropesa for Florida You Judge. It was awesome being with you and with Eliseo, Michelle, Linda. Right up next, April Griffin, who's running for Hillsborough tax collector.